You're listening to The Dating Den with dating and relationship badass and best-selling author Marni Batista. Every week, you'll get the raw truth from top experts and real people on the important dating, sex, and relationship issues you want to know about. So if you're ready for true talk that's authentic and unfiltered, and you're not afraid to be called out on your stuff, then you're ready for what's next.
The Dating Den, episode 39. How Sarah turned herself into gold child to finally get over dating assholes for good. Ladies, welcome into my lair, into the old dating den. I am super excited because this is one of those episodes where I get to do my evil doings with an innocent client who is brave enough to come into the den and have the real shit thrown her way. So I want you all to welcome the very brave Sarah into the den. Hey, Sarah.
Hi.
So you're in Texas.
I am, yes.
That's awesome. And apparently all your exes do live in Texas.
Yes, they do. Unfortunately, I don't know how. I have avoided running into a lot of them. I don't know. I really don't know how I've gotten so lucky in that sense, but I'm able to avoid most of my exes for whatever reason.
That's awesome. And let's just be real, since we're in the den. Do you follow any of them on the IG, on Instagram, Facebook, any?
Instagram, definitely not, because I don't know. Instagram is too in your face for me. And I feel like it's a lot easier to, run into them virtually that way. Facebook, I think I might be friends with maybe one or two of them, but I'm very when I go through a breakup or something falls through, whatever you want to call it, the first thing I usually do is, take them off of all that stuff. It's the first thing I do.
It's the old block 'em strategy. Block them. Yes. Okay, awesome. Well, good. So I just want to introduce you to everyone here. Sarah lives in Texas, as I said. She's been dating on and off for a while. And, she's like you, she's got the belief that, of course, there are great guys out there. However, up until very recently, Sarah was, meeting guys and having super short-term relationships. I call that serial monogamy. So, Sarah was thinking that maybe there was something wrong, that she was doing something wrong, because she just couldn't get anyone for the long term. She wants a long-term partner. She says she's ready for it. But recently, her, be careful what you wish for. She actually met a nice guy, and now she's kind of freaking the fuck out. So, bring us up to speed.
So yeah, I have a knack for finding, assholes and, guys who are really, really good at faking it for anywhere between 1 to 3 months. And then it's out of nowhere, shit hits the fan. Well, seemingly out of nowhere, but I feel like if I told you some of the stories, you would be able to tell me that I'm blind.
Okay.
So I just went through probably one of the worst bouts, of asshole. And that ended in the beginning of April or mid-April. And, I ended up meeting this other guy, and we have been, dating for about we went on our first date a month ago, and it's going really well. Really well. And it's just throwing me for a loop, because I am not used to nice men. So.
Wow. Okay. So this is interesting. So the guy that you broke up with prior to meeting this guy, he was the penultimate in asshole achievement. Okay. So tell me, at the beginning of that one, were there signs that you were ignoring, Sarah?
Yes.
Okay, so let's just break it down and keep it simple. Name 3. Like, what were 3 flags that you noticed?
Okay. I'll keep this as simple as I can.
She laughs now, but you know she cried before.
Oh my God.
Girl.
Cried so much. You know what? I wouldn't even say that I ignored them. I knew that they were blatant, like crimson colored flags, but I was doing the whole, well, maybe I'm expecting too much thing. I'm difficult. Maybe I should try approaching these things differently and, having an open mind. So, I would say his 3 red flags right off the bat, money, thoughtfulness, and just, I don't know, just, there was something that I didn't trust about his past with women and, just with women in general and sexuality and, the attention that he needed with all that.
So you had these glaring, blazing flags. So it was like he didn't have enough money or he was irresponsible with money. He wasn't very thoughtful or paying attention to your needs, wants. And you had a weird sort of just something's not right. And what was it that really caused you to go into self-doubt? Like the flags would be ablazing and then you were like, no, maybe it's me. So what happened that you just kept going back to maybe it's me? What was good about him, or what need did it meet?
So I feel like it's twofold. I think that I talked to him about these things. Like I noticed this behavior and I was very upfront with him. I'm talking within the first week and said, the only reason I'm even talking to you about this stuff is because I like you and I want to see if we can talk it out. If I didn't like you that much, then I would just be like, bye. So I did try and confront the issues with him, and he made me feel like he heard me and he was excited to, be challenged to evolve. And then I really looking back on it now, he was really funny, and humor is it's a massive attraction for me. And I don't think that I've ever met a guy who was that funny and who got my funny, and we just laughed so hard and already had so many inside jokes right off the bat. And it's like, that was there for me. And it was, I really feel like it's what was keeping me forcing this and trying to overlook all of these other horrible, that was pretty much the only quality that he had
that kept you intrigued. So
yes,
there's a couple of things I want to talk about, because I think it's to sort of move forward for the new guy, we need to break down with the old guy, right? So number one is that sense of like he got you, in your humor. It's that need to feel known, right? To feel seen, to feel known, to have someone who like quote unquote gets us, right? And that need to be seen and known, it creates what I call pseudo intimacy, right? It's like a false intimacy, because you're not like, you were kind of scared that he was gonna hurt you in some way, because those flags, it's hard to like really, let the guard down when you have those flags. But there are those moments, right, where you're like laughing and you're like, oh my God, he gets me, that almost like evaporate any of that fear, because our desire, right, to be seen, known, and heard is so, so great. So does that like resonate for you at all?
Oh my God. Yeah. I literally I'm looking around right now for a pad of paper because I'm like, oh, I wish I was taking notes on this.
Well, the good news is you can listen to it. So, forever.
Yes.
Okay. So that's really cool. So what I want you and everyone else to know is that sometimes we mistake like that chemistry or that whatever it is, especially for a bad for you guy, as really nothing more than, oh my God, someone actually like gets me. Like I can be myself. Now, here's the other interesting sort of like fly in the ointment, so to speak, is at an unconscious level, Sarah's like, no, this guy is probably not emotionally safe. So therefore, I can actually be myself.
Whoa. Whoa. Yeah.
Right? So, yeah. So you're like, well, no, this is all happening, peeps, at the unconscious level, right? But still, it's all this system that's going on. And let me ask you another question. This is just totally taking a risk. But did you have anyone in your life, like a parent or a surrogate or anybody who, like, humor was like a big connection for you when you were growing up? Like laughing together, being, getting your humor?
Yes. And to be totally cliche, my dad and I's relationship is like it's about humor. Like that is what it's based on.
Okay. So connect the dots, ABC 1, 2, 3, right? So it's like, oh, this is like feels familiar. Right? It feels familiar. Right. Okay. Now, we don't have time to go into the whole daddy thing, but we could. But what I really want everybody to know, and I think I've done so many episodes with Raz and Grazi, with Dr. Sheldon Cardner. Like if you're a listener, like I would go back and kind of listen to those to help you kind of connect the dots about what happens, is that we get or we don't get, what we need as a child, even though our parents are awesome and doing the best that we can. And we basically just drag it all along, until we stop. So you're with this guy. It feels familiar. He gets you. Now, here's the other coaching I want to give you just for the future relationship, which is, again, very common. So your words when you were describing sort of giving him an opportunity to kind of like man up, right? To like get his shit together.
Right.
The word you used was, so I confronted him about. Okay. Mm-hmm. So when you think of the word confront, what energy, what vibe does confront evoke for you?
See, that is really interesting because I can already tell you that I know that instinctually confrontation has a negative connotation, but for me, I'm just talking. Like that's my way of saying I addressed an issue with like someone, or we're talking about it, we're talking it out. I just use the word confront.
Okay. So I will totally just give you this as food for thought. I'm a huge believer in that words have energy and we choose the words that we say very unconsciously. And so for you, like, it's a big deal, I'm guessing, to like say, this is what I want. You felt very vulnerable. It wasn't like, yay, I'm so excited to talk about my needs not getting met. Right? So whether, you use the word, we had a chat or a talk, that sort of like at an unconscious level energetically just sets the framework. And my guess is that you went into this conversation, and correct me if I'm wrong, you had to have a little bit of your guard up. Like, how is he going to react? Do I need to?
Oh my God, yeah.
Okay, so do you now get so that's why even though confrontation accidentally is the word you used, it might have felt like a little bit like you were confronting your own stuff, confronting him, confronting an issue. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So the other thing you did, and again, I did not take notes, but something that you said was, so, the reason that I'm telling you this is because I like you, right?
Right.
Okay. So basically what that says is, and we swear in the den. So it's like, you're an asshole, but I'm willing to give you a chance. So let me tell you what an asshole you are.
That is so accurate.
Okay. So the reason why I'm telling
I'm sorry, that's really funny.
So that's what I like, in my vision of like, I would be on like, what's that, Family Swim? I don't know. Like, what's that?
Adult Swim.
Adult Swim. Yeah, like I would be doing like an animated thing with the little bubbles, over it. And
yes,
right?
Yes.
And so, he's standing there and he's like, oh God, I'm going to be told what an asshole I am. But, so here's the other thing, like a guy like that, and I am being stereotypical, send your hate mail. A guy like that will be like, just let her fucking talk. Tell her what she wants. Peace will return.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's like a savviness, and also nobody really wants to be confronted. And if you go into a locker room, you would hear a lot of guys saying, like, and I've actually been not in locker rooms, but I've been in man panels where guys are like, they're like, it's like they're walking through this murky water, like in slow-mo with like scuba gear on through the sand. And they're like, with the bubble noise, like, just tell me what you really mean. Like, what do you really want? And all they see is this like murky woman going, rah, 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 right? So he just wanted to know the bottom line. What do you want? So when you had that conversation, what is it that you really, I know what the idea of what you said, but in the core of it, what did you really want and need?
I wanted him to court me and treat me well.
Okay. So so how did you want to feel?
I wanted to feel special, and I wanted to feel like, I don't know, like he was in it. I'm like, he's investing in this.
Okay. So you wanted to feel safe.
Yes.
Okay. So in that declaration, was there any sort of thing that was telling him, so this is what I need to feel safe and this is what I need you to do?
Yeah, I would say, I tried. This is literally within the first week, and it was all about how he was already making money a thing, and already very tit for tat, and wasn't shy about it, and just making me so uncomfortable in the entire situation. So the confrontation or talk or whatever was about, like, I've dated guys like you. I don't want to keep doing it. I need to make sure you're not like that. Like, I don't want money to be this thing. I want to be courted and dated properly. And, but I definitely somewhere along the way, I lost myself and started getting shy about just being very straightforward about what I was trying to say to him.
Right, because it wasn't received. So when you say things like, and I'm being picky because I don't want you to mess up this other relationship, when your needs aren't getting met, you don't want to throw the past, right? Like, you're like, you better prove to me you're not like the other assholes, right? Like, I've been treated like this before. Like, you don't fuck with me, right? It's all this, like, it's definitely not feminine. It's definitely like, prove to me you're not an asshole, right? And so a guy doesn't want to feel like he has to jump through hoops, and whether he was an asshole or not, and prove that he's like better or different than anyone else. Because in that situation, you're right? You're right. There's nothing you can really do about it.
Right.
So in the future, it might look like, and I actually had a real life client who went on a couple of dates with a guy, and she's noticing that he makes some comments about money, and she's very successful and, independent financially, and she doesn't need a guy to take care of her. She also wants to be with someone who can live the lifestyle that she lives, right? That it's equal. And so instead of saying, I don't want to be treated like this, she's like having conversations at the beginning, and you were like a week in, like talking about values around money. That's like a get to know you sort of like, hey, one of the values that's really important to me is like equal partnership when it comes to money. What about you?
Right. And that the conversation did turn into that, because he basically was like, okay, so like, what is your outlook on all of that, and whether the guy should pay, the girl should pay, or and so we did have an open conversation about that in the conversation that night.
So after it sort of like it unfolded into that.
Yeah. So he was very receptive, and I said, like, we don't have to get into all the details.
Yeah, but the details are kind of a little important, just because I want to make sure that you don't think you did something. I want to get really clear that you act what you did and you actually did, what you actually did and what you actually didn't do. So it's okay to go into a little bit of the details.
I told him I am I'm old fashioned than I come off. I think that to a lot of guys, it at first glance, or, I have an online presence, so they might read into it and think that I'm way more progressive than I am, but I'm traditional in that sense. And I do want to be courted and taken out on dates, and nothing extravagant, but just like put in some effort and show that you care. And I mean, this guy was already, after our first dinner date, he told me the total, but like didn't just tell it to me, kind of threw it in my face in a way, because he was trying to make a joke out of it, but also letting me know how much it cost, and that he expected me to essentially like make it up to him. And already, like, after that dinner, we went to a bar, and he was like, you're getting the drinks. And this is our first dinner and drinks date. So
yeah, totally. So, and I think the reason why I want to go into the detail is that this kind of happens a lot. You're not the only woman that this has happened to. And so those are awesome. I call them pink flags, and then they become red. So if I was going to do it, like, after the moment coaching with you, I'd be like, okay, so clearly it doesn't make you feel special. It doesn't make you feel courted. And it also, like, big picture underneath, you're just not sure about a lot of things about his values. And so it's a super big question mark. So in the future, right before you decide he's someone that you want to be in a relationship with, any of those things, like, this is, I call it dating, right? So you're just collecting data and you're not taking it personally. And so even in explaining it, right, there's like, people might think this about me, and some guys do that, right? And it's all this like story. And so for the future, and with the new guy, and now we'll talk about him, I really want you to sort of put all of those stories away, right, about who you were, who people might think you are, how you've been treated in the past, and totally just be like present to this situation here and now. Make sense?
it does. It's just sometimes so much easier said than done.
It is, because, and this is sort of like my pet peeve, it is easier said than done. And that's because at the core of it, some of the things that we talked about at the very beginning, right, of being known, seen, and heard, and what that looks like, and and humor, and dad, and self-worth. There's like all these deeper issues, and when we get stressed, which dating is a stress, right? Our emotional safety is at risk. All the shit just flies out, into the road, and we get hurt, and it's messy, and it's feels crappy. So for you in those moments, I want you to start asking like that higher quality question, and to pause and to be like, what's really going on here? What do I really need? I need to feel safe. How can I really ask for that?
How can I?
Well, so let's just pretend with this guy, let's pretend, because I would totally, if you're my client, I'd be like, hey, that's super pink flag. So on the second or third date, I would encourage you to bring up like values around money and what it looks like for you and what his past is. I had a client actually this happened to, super successful 7-figure woman, like in Manhattan, going like, I'm never going to meet anyone more successful than me. Well, we worked together and she did, right? And so on the second or third date, they go for drinks, and she gets there first. And so she orders her drink. He comes in, goes to the bar. She goes to the restroom. She comes back, and the bartender's like, so do you want to close the tab? Your table is ready. And she looks over at him, and he's like, you can get it. And she came to me and she was like, this guy fucking makes like more than $1 million a year. What an asshole. And long story short, he was used to dating women who basically dated him for his money. Mm-hmm. And that was like a little test, unconscious, that he was like, just so you think I ain't going to be dining and whining you like that, honey.
Right.
Right. So he leaked. So we all leak. So, so in the moment, it's really important for you to look at, what's really going on here. What do I need? What do I want? Because what you've been doing, which is why you've been stuck, is you've been reacting rather than responding. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So let's talk for the last 10 minutes about the new guy.
Okay.
Okay. So what scares you the most? Like, how could I be most helpful with the new guy?
I'm scared that I am going to somehow self-sabotage because it's like I've gotten so used to failed relationship after failed relationship, and because these guys red flags come out about them, or okay, let me start over. I'm so used to dating the asshole and fighting for it and having that like crazy intense passion right up front, and all these things are being said and everyone's so infatuated, and then none of them ever work out. Like maybe 1 month, maybe 2 at the most, and it fizzles and it's done and the guy's a dick. And that's what I am used to. So I'm scared that because I've gotten almost like comfortable with that sort of tumultuous anxiety, that I'm going to somehow muck this up for myself with this guy who's like amazing and nice and sweet. And it's like, I literally can't find one. He hasn't put a toe out of line.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So okay. So this is like a deeper issue, right? So there's a bunch of things going on here. One is like, there's this thing that I say all the time. How you define yourself, how you see yourself basically impacts what you do and how you do it. So when you define yourself, right, like I'm a person who has a serious history of short-term failed relationships, what you do and how you do it is completely a reflection of that. Right? Like my guard is up. I'm not used to it. I don't want to get hurt. I'm skeptical. And at the core of it, I'm not lovable.
Yes, that is absolutely something that I deal with.
Yeah. So that's the issue that ultimately you want to really, really dive into, because when we don't feel lovable, then how we're defining ourselves is I am not a lovable person. Like if someone really knew me, I'm not sure if they would want me.
Right.
So what I'd love for you to start thinking about is, it's kind of like, Beyonce has Sasha Fierce, right?
Yes.
So the workaround on this one, on a podcast is, when you think about like, how would you show up with new guy in a different way in which you define yourself as worthy of love, of capable, right?
Right.
How would you be different? What would you do? How would you be?
I would put myself first. Like I wouldn't be scared to speak up, and, I wouldn't live in fear of losing his interest or this not working out. I would just be confident about it and just do me and, just not overthink things. I mean, but that all just sounds like a freaking dream to me, because that's so opposite of how I am.
Right. Well, right now it is, right? Because we're doing like a little podcast coaching hack, right? But what I want you to really think about as part of that is what's true. And what's true is that there's a guy, right? And you've known him a month, and there's nothing to fuck up, right? Like, you're getting to know him. Your job is to practice receiving his attention, his time, his kindness. So if you can take him off trial, because right now he's on trial.
Right.
So everything he does, you're like, are you sure? Is this real? Right? Like, are you sure you're not going to screw me up? Prove to me you're not like, right? So I don't want you to leak that. So what I want you to do is to practice receiving. So one of the things, a little trick that I recommend my clients do is this. So are you at a place where you can close your eyes and just, you can be sitting, but move your top half of your body?
Yes.
Okay. So I want you to close your eyes. You could try this at home unless you're driving. So close your eyes, and I want you to take on the body position. I know this sounds like so far away, right? But you're Sasha Fierce of, I am enough and I am lovable. So just notice what happens in your body when you just step into that, and just try it on. Might feel uncomfortable. It might not feel real, but just try it on. And then turn up the dial like 10%. And now I want you to put your body in the position of being open and receiving. And we'll keep it real simple for now. We're going to keep it to like receiving a compliment. Like, Sarah, you're so beautiful. So just notice what happens. And when that little movie in your mind is finished, you can open your eyes and tell me. So what did you notice? What came up for you?
Just like really tall posture. Maybe even a hand to my waist.
Yep.
Sort of like in a power stance, if you will. And like with the compliment, that it kind of just made my chest feel lighter.
Mm-hmm. So you were able to receive it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is your homework. You are going to practice embodying, receiving love, kindness, generosity, and you're going to turn up what I call your love limit. Because right now you're like a thermometer and you're stuck at a certain limit, which is based on fear.
Okay.
So your job is to like embody, like notice what it feels like. Oh my God, I imagined a compliment. Like I didn't die. I took it. I received it. Right? And so before you get on the phone with him, before you go out on a date with him, I would love for you to spend 2 minutes. When I work with clients, we call this power posing, right? And it's based on this work by, I think her name's Amy Cuddy at Harvard. So you're basically going to just embody what, for you, your position of your version of Sasha Fierce, who's lovable and who's enough. And I want you to turn that up 10% every time. And then just imagine like receiving, like, you are beautiful. I love you. Like allow yourself, give yourself permission to believe it and to just notice what it feels like to receive it.
Okay. I think I can at least practice that.
Exactly. So if you are going to name the version of your highest self that can receive, it's not Sasha Fierce. What is it for you?
Oh my gosh. Oh, I don't know. I have no idea.
Make it up. Who is she?
I don't know. Gold child.
I love it. Gold child. Okay. Dum da da dum. Gold child. Okay. So I want you to just really get to know Gold child. You can look in the mirror and you can look and be like, Gold child, I love you. It sounds so silly, but honestly, it's really practice looking and seeing yourself as who you really are, because who you've been showing up in as relationships is some whacked out version of, an emotional little girl rather than the emotional adult that I want you to step up into, because that woman can totally receive love. She can be in relationship. She believes that she's worthy.
Okay.
So what's your takeaway from our conversation today?
Gosh, so much. Obviously just believing in myself more and allowing myself to feel safe and be treated well, and not letting all these past crappy experiences that have happened back to back, not letting them get in the way of something really good. And the whole mistaken chemistry and pseudo intimacy thing just really, really resonated with me, because my best friend tells me all the time, you can have chemistry with bad people.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, with bad for you people.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And so I'm going to tie it back to what I said at the beginning, is how you define yourself impacts what you do and how you do it. So if you define yourself, as gold child, right? What you do, how you show up, how you do it is going to be completely different. And you can give yourself a chance to really be treated the way you deserve.
I hope you're right.
Choose it.
Okay.
Sarah, you are so awesome. I know that we're going to get lots of fan mail saying, oh my God, Sarah, everyone come up with your own gold child. And for now, we will send gold child out into the dating jungle with the new hot guy, where she will become a powerful woman. So thank you for being here. And ladies, don't forget, date with dignity. We'll talk to you soon. Dating Den. Bye.